the idea of good and bad food is distracting. Now, whether in terms of food, you could argue that in terms of heart conditions and different things, then there are bad foods. But just in terms of weight, now, the other thing with things like McDonald's or these type of foods are they're so well engineered that it's very difficult to feel satiated. There's a compulsion to overeat. But that's a separate issue. Yeah.
Although if you keep the calories under control,
exactly.
Diet, keep your weight managed, you'd probably be hungry because of some of the hormonal effects. And I want to bring that into this discussion as well, because we've talked a lot about reducing calories to kind of keep that same 12 stone as someone who naturally eats 2,000 calories and has 12 stone naturally. What role does the hormonal system, the endocrine system, play in this?
Now, I don't get even involved in that. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
If you look at the ideal scenario is that you eat what you want and you're the weight that you want to be. I mean, that's the ultimate goal if you can get there. Okay. The next best scenario to that is that you eat what you want, but you don't overeat, even though you would like to. And the reason, because there's two elements to that. Let's say I say to you, my friend has just bought some lovely heroin. It's fantastic. Do you want to try some? You're going to say no, or whatever hard drug that I offer you. Now, most people will agree it must be pretty nice. We all know how detrimental it can be to your life and everything else. But there's no doubt about it. Serious drugs are obviously nice. There's a compulsion for people to do them.
For a moment.
Yeah. But there's nothing that would make you even attempt to try it. The insanity, I don't care how nice it is, the insanity of trying it, we just wouldn't do it. So that's a case of willpower, whereby your subconscious mind and your own desire match. And that's a very powerful thing. You're on the same page. Where the problem is with diet and exercise is your subconscious mind wants one thing and you want something else. So it's willpower. Now, if the willpower, let's say the idea of carrying 1 extra pound of weight in your mind, in your subconscious mind, was insanity. Just the idea of physically carrying this, there's no reason for it. If you would why would I carry it around all day, every day? That would be your subconscious mind and your conscious mind working together. So just to backtrack, one is you eat whatever you want and you're just always the right weight. The second one is you lose the weight, you eat and you enjoy it. But even though you could eat more and you'd enjoy it, the idea of doing it is insanity. That's another way of your subconscious mind working with you. In other words, there's no battle. You just, the second helping you say, look, it's lovely, but no thanks. So,
well, and a lot of people in my community, Cathal, would say to the heroin thing, we treat sugar like that. We treat refined carbohydrates like that because we know consciously if we eat those, we're going to have blood sugar and insulin spikes, which then make us feel horrible, increases hunger.
Yeah.
And so then we choose to eat mostly animal-based types of foods and fat and limited carbohydrates. Fat and protein and limited carbohydrates is because we know we feel best that way and we reach our goals of whatever the weight.
No, that's a very good point. And there's a couple of things there. Is you're absolutely right. If the choice is between obesity and going on an Atkins type diet, whereby you lose weight, and even if there's some argument that you're potentially some of the things are dangerous in the future, who knows? But it's still, medically speaking and health-wise speaking, for a lot of people, it would make perfect sense, to not be obese, because that's where a lot of the ailments come from. Now, there have been arguments, I mean, in the Nordic countries, Norway, Finland, and that, there's very good information there of what happened in the build-up to the Second World War. And as more dairy and meat eating started happening and the coronary heart diseases type things started to rise. During the Second World War, then, when they were taken over, the Germans kind of confiscated everything for their own purposes. And they saw a big dramatic drop in heart disease and different things as they became more grain-based. And then as soon as the Second World War ended, it started to creep back up again as they, So, and there's if you Google it, there's quite a few. There's one specific town in Norway, in Finland, where they actually, as the Second World War finished and the coronary diseases started coming up again, they introduced a specific diet, and it was very localized to a town, and it was dramatic effects. So I'm not arguing the good or the bad of Atkins, but it's the best of the situation if you're really struggling.
Dude, you're like almost 2 decades old referencing Atkins. Ketogenic.
No. But I mean, when I say Atkins, I mean ketogenic. Sorry. Atkins is how they used to throw everything low carb under the bus with that. But yeah, today it's ketogenic, and there's a lot of research. Anyway, we're not going to argue the benefits. Sure. Yeah, exactly. Now, the danger slightly is, well, it's the best of a scenario. If you're really struggling and this solves your problem of losing weight, it's great, and even if you have subsequent problems down the line. Now, if you have a very clever subconscious mind, what it can do is say, right, you're winning the battle now. You're getting down here, but we're coming back. And your subconscious mind is so powerful, it can even override your ketogenic diet.
I agree.
And still bring you back up to the benchmark.
I agree. And I've actually seen this happen in myself early on and other people, where they start to feel better. And so they think back and that they're okay to eat whatever, whenever. And they're not. It's almost like the subconscious, as you're saying,
exactly,
them into thinking you've already gotten there when they still have a few more steps to get there and make it like a permanent kind of lifestyle.
Now, the thing, exactly. And the thing is, you're literally fighting your worst enemy with this, because it becomes so confusing to people. So some people will think it's emotional problems I have, because every time I have this problem, I eat. Okay. And on the surface, that seems correct. But in actual fact, even that's wrong. And it sounds bizarre to say that. All that's happening there is your subconscious mind knows it wants you back up. Okay. And so it starts to give you the feeling of being hungry. It puts the idea of food in your mind. It starts to make you obsessive thinking. Now, the normal weighted person isn't having this in their head all the time.
No.
And then it says, right, it literally has, if you imagine it's having a meeting and it's saying, Jimmy still won't eat, or whoever it is. Okay, next step. Bring up that trauma, whatever it is. Just bring it up. And all of a sudden, that's in your head. Now, you think then, because you go off and eat and binge, you think that was the reason. It wasn't the reason.
Right.
It was just you are fighting your worst enemy, because you're fighting an enemy that knows your thoughts, and it can infiltrate your thoughts. And so much of your thoughts every day are actually coming from your subconscious mind. You're not even aware of it. Like if I wanted you to open a window in your room there, okay, I could say, Jimmy, open a window, please. The other thing I could do would be surreptitiously turn up the central heating, and then you would do it. But and you would think it was your idea.
Yeah.
And so that's how powerful your subconscious mind is. If you think of how powerful it is, it knows every single atom and cell in your body. If you cut yourself, think of what's happening is your subconscious mind is running the whole show to, if I cut myself on my finger, to fix that cut. So what it's doing is it's sending down blood clotting agents to stop me bleeding to death. It's sending down antibodies, being picked up all over the body, whizzed down to the bloodstream, to the cut, to fight infection.
Right.
It's giving me pain to make my hand away from wherever it is. And then it's sending down cell regeneration to heal and scar and heal the cut. In other words, what it does is better than any plastic surgeon who spent 10 years in college could ever do. And this is all done without you being aware.
Right.
If you were doing it, you'd probably have blood poisoning, or you'd probably
get an infection,
clot the blood before you send down the antibodies or whatever. Now,
yeah.
But let's take it a step further. You have electricity in your body. So if you think about it, and really it's the same electricity you have in a light bulb. You could actually run a 40-watt bulb if you could plug it into your head. That's the electricity that's there. And now, whether or not you agree, but the point I'm trying to make is, and it's the exact same electricity, if you have a pacemaker put in your heart, the reason for that is the muscle on the top of your heart sends a shock through your heart. And what that does is it causes the heart to constrict. And so it sends it through, and then it turns it off. And that's the pump. So it's pumping electricity current on and off, and that's your pump for your heart. When they figure out then that that's not working properly and you're getting irregular heartbeat, you can get a pacemaker put in, and with that pacemaker is a battery. And in that battery is the exact same electricity that's in your wall socket, and that takes over. So the question I would ask you is, that electricity that's creating the heartbeat in your body, where is that coming from in your mind?
External forces?
It's not even, no. What's happening is, on a cellular level, we're creating electricity.
Okay.
So the only reason I'm going through this is to show you the absolute genius that you're working with and that you're trying to fight. You have no chance of winning this fight. Now, Atkins, the keto diet goes a long way, but it could be, well, what can happen sometimes as well is we get locked into something because it seems to work.
Yes.
We think this is the holy grail.
Yes.
And the danger slightly is, it's like somebody saying pot is great because it comes from the earth. How could it be bad? You know,
there are people who say that. So.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. So the next thing to say is, we're continually running our subconscious mind that's running these programs. And it's creating electricity, it's healing cuts, it's doing everything. So it knows exactly. So really, if you want to solve this problem in any way, you need to get your subconscious mind on board with you. And all that's happened at the moment is, if you imagine your subconscious mind is spinning plates. And so each of these spinning plates is a different survival instinct. And all that's happening is the food one has grown too big. And it's taken over other parts of your survival instincts. But you can't forget this. This is the problem. It's like when you learn to ride a bike. It's more than just learning to ride a bike. It's actually your subconscious mind learns. You think you've learned, but really you haven't, because once your subconscious mind learns, I didn't cycle a bike for 20 years at one stage, and I hired one for a weekend, and I thought, oh, I wonder, can I still ride it? 2 seconds later, you can ride it.
Of course.
So imagine your subconscious mind, you can never change it. And that's why you have this endless battle for the rest of your life. And you either do something like keto, and you're lucky and it works, or you're unlucky and your subconscious mind is too clever and starts to override it. Or you count calories and you're manually trying to run something. So the ultimate situation is to get your subconscious mind to run it. So if I said to you, every 4th breath, take a deep breath, you're going to feel better. It would drive you nuts. You'd have to count your breaths and do this and do that. And, I'm happy that my subconscious mind looks after my breathing. I want nothing to do with it. And in a way, when you're using diet and exercise to rectify your problem, you're literally doing that. You're trying to manually do the 4th breath. And the more you get involved in trying to do this, you're actually stealing away the autonomy of the system more and more. And that's why it's getting into chaos.